Out of the Park presents Ask Barry Davis.
We have a question, and we answered it somewhat, but we felt that we needed to answer it more in depth. And it's regarding bats.
Yes.
And it's regarding if the bats are something that is mandated by the team, or do the players have a opportunity to select the type of lumber that they want to use?
See, that's a great question, and I think I have a basic idea, but there are always times, Matt, when I don't know the answer to a question. And for those who are watching the video, this is going to be a first, because you're going to actually get to see as proof that when I don't know something, I'm literally going to call them right now, and we're going to find out. So we're going to give our pal.
There's a little ring.
We're going to give our pal Brian Jeroloman a call and see if he might be able to help us with this. We have to hope that he's actually home and planning to answer the phone. Oh,
There
What's
he
up
is.
there?
is this Brian?
Yes.
Brian Jeroloman. See, there you go. We'll call him Brian Jeroloman live on the air. Brian, thanks for being a part of our show as always, and thanks for just being readily available.
Now, hold on one second.
What?
You've been dropping balls on this like since the beginning of the year. First off, Mr. Brian Jeroloman, from all of us at Out of the Park, Happy New Year.
You guys as well. How's everything going? You guys have a good Christmas, good New Year's?
I didn't.
What? Oh yeah, his whole family got
we got-
stomach flu for Christmas.
we
That's
got-
what they got under the tree. They got buckets of throw up under the tree.
Brian, we got the Norwalk virus.
Man.
And my wife was in the hospital. It was not good, man.
But he's doing well now.
Yeah, I'm not dead. Anyway.
So Brian, it's always great to have you on the show, and we have a question this week that I think you would be able to answer, and it's not about catching, because usually we have you on to answer the catching questions, but this week we have a question regarding bats, and I'm going to let Matt actually ask you the question.
So, Brian,
Bring
here
it
is the question. One of our listeners wonders if bats are something that is mandated by the team. So, in other words, the team says to the players, these are the bats that we're going to be bringing into the clubhouse this year. This is what everybody's using. Or is the choice of lumber left up to the players?
That's actually a good question. It really depends. If you have a sports agent, if you have an agent and you're in the minor leagues, your agent will, the majority of agents, I should say, will buy the bats that you wish. So you can kind of have whatever bat you want if they're paying for it. If you're in the major leagues, you have literally unlimited bats. The team's paying for it, whatever you want, any of that stuff. Now, if you do not have a sports agent and you are in the minor leagues, they do have bats there for you, and it's kind of what they have is what they have is what you get, and it's limited choices, and usually the bats aren't that good.
So, Brian, just to clarify, so let's say you're in the majors. Let's say Brian Jeroloman is playing for the Toronto Blue Jays, which would be awesome, by the way. You can have as many bats of as many make as you'd like.
I remember this. When I was up, I had all Louisville Slugger, same bat. I used the same bat my whole career. And then I would have this little sideways square where they put all my bats, and they put everyone's bats next to each other. Everyone have their own cubicle. And then this kind of tells you where you're at on the team. So I had one cubicle, and then you see Edwin Encarnacion, he has 3 cubicles full of bats. And then Jose Bautista has 4 cubicles. And then I'm sandwiched in between in one cubicle. No, but different guys, different bats. I know Yunel Escobar, when he was up there with us, he had a different style, different makes, so on and so forth. Different players. They have some days they choose to use Marucci, some days they choose to use Louisville Slugger. I guess it all goes off how they're feeling at that time.
Is it true that when you arrived up to the Blue Jays, they were shocked because all the bats you had were aluminum?
This is
awesome. According to Jason Fraser, I needed to use aluminum.
Chirp Jeroloman. This is great.
Brian, I remember being at spring training, and there would be that day where all the bat guys and the equipment guys would show up. So are you getting guys like from Louisville and from different companies like trying to get you to use their stuff?
Oh, absolutely. That's nonstop all the time. And, everyone from Louisville Slugger to Marucci to Rawlings, Axis is a new one. And it really goes off of, they want to show you their newest model. A big bat name that's coming out is Victus. Victus makes really nice bats. They're the bats I used in my last couple of years. And but literally, they want to show you their newest product.
Brian,
Brian,
are you on Victus's payroll? I'm just I'm curious.
I wish. I
was going to say plug.
Yeah, I should have been paying them to let me use their bats because I was probably hurting their name. But
now, how are veteran guys with lending their bats to other guys? Because there are times where you'll see a player who might be in a slump, and all of a sudden they'll use Edwin's bat, and they'll have great success. Now, are most of the veteran guys cool about that, or are they like, no, man, that's my lumber. You keep your hands off of it?
It really depends on the player, how good of a relationship you have with them. As long as you know them well enough and you go up and ask them, anybody will usually let you use their wood. Now, if you're someone they don't know and they think you're going up there for a cup of coffee and they don't know you that well and you could end up selling this on eBay, pretty solid chance they're not going to let you borrow it.
Or if you break it, are there any guys out there that if you use their bat, you're thinking, oh, crap, if this bat breaks, he's going to be pissed?
No, that's tough to say. I've been pretty fortunate that I didn't have to buy bats because of all the times going to big league camp and stuff like that, and having an agent. That was always helpful. That whenever I lent a bat out, But you usually want to steer clear of lending it to a pitcher hitting. The odds are that bat's going to turn into firewood after the game.
Now, there are so many different lengths of bats and weights of bats. What is that process like? I picture it's like when I go bowling and I see all those balls and I just look for the lightest one possible and I find the 5-pound ball and I go, this is the one for me. I'm going to use this one. Yeah. How do you guys know what the right weight and the right length of bat is for you?
The hardest thing to make isn't the length or the make or any of that stuff. It's the model. The model is so important because let's say you use there's different models, and this will be kind of, I guess, extensive, the kind of stuff that goes on to the process. But a C271 model means you can hit. It's a thinner barrel. Fraser said it best last time. Why do I need batting gloves for? Because I use the C243, which is like a big barrel bat. And I need a bigger barrel to try to make contact with the ball. Good hitters use smaller barrels. If I remember correctly, different players, I could guess people, but I know that Kelly Johnson kind of he was right around close to a 243. I remember we used close to the same model. Stephen Drew used like a 243. Bautista has his own model. He's part of Marucci, so we can kind of go there and say, this is how I want my barrel, this is how I want my handle. But when it comes to the weight of the bat, and even for like kids out there listening, that's, the ability to be honest with yourself saying this is too heavy or this is too light.
Are there regulations, though? Are there certain rules that MLB says that the bat can't be any heavier than this, any bigger than this, can't have a barrel bigger than this? Like, are there very strict specifications?
I really don't. If there is, I've never heard of them because I know some guys use some big bats.
See, I'd use like a cricket bat then if it was me.
Yeah, man, like an oar.
You'd never strike out.
Yeah, some of these guys use some. I'll pick up their bat and I'll be like, man, I need to work out. Because, literally, like it's an ultimate confidence killer picking up someone else's bat. And then, you see the small, skinny guy who uses a skinny bat, and that's the confidence builder. So you're like, at least I'm bigger than that guy. But, it all comes down to personal preference. Good contact hitters, usually like leadoff type hitters, they're going to use smaller weighted bats, bats that weigh less just to have better bat control. Usually more power hitters use a bigger bat.
So just my own spitballing here, some of these big lumberjack guys like the Mark McGuire, Barry Bonds, would those guys be using just like lead pipes? Like if you were to pick up one of their bats way back in the day, thought process on my end would be those would be some seriously heavy lumber.
Absolutely. And the heavier, that's why a lot of guys like using heavier bats, is usually it's a stronger wood. And so not only is it a stronger wood, it might add a couple feet to your how far you hit a ball. But if you have, even if it's only 2 ounces heavier and you get 2 ounces more into a baseball going 96 miles an hour, that's a huge difference. That is a huge difference. So I would imagine Mark McGuire swung a lead pipe. I heard Alfonso Soriano swung a huge bat. So many, Bautista, I'm pretty sure, swings a huge bat. All these different guys, same, they have something in common. They all swing big bats, but they're strong enough to do so.
So if I wanted to cork my bat, would I have to send it out to a professional corker, or is it something that I could literally take home, drill a hole in it, and cork it myself? Not that you've ever done this, Brian. I'm not saying you did it.
I was going to say, are there professional corkers? Well, isn't that crap illegal?
But maybe, honestly, I'm going to go back to what Fraser said. I'm not going to say he hurt my feelings, but it stung a hair. No, I'm kidding. Maybe I should have learned how to cork. I've never seen a corked bat, but with YouTube today, that's probably the best way to do it, without question. Now, make sure and get some good cork. If you want an extra 20 feet, don't buy the cheap wine. Get the expensive wine, the wine bottles, to get some good cork in there.
Whoa, wait a minute. What? You're using corks out of wine bottles? Brian, it sounds like you know what you're doing with this, Brian.
No. So when you screw into the top, you want to get a 1/4-inch screw. No, I'm kidding. I have no idea.
All right. While we're on the topic of bats, because, basically we had one question, but now it's turning into a whole bunch of them. Many bats at the tip of the bat, not the end that you hold, but the other end of the bat, there's like a little groove dug into it. It's concave.
Like concave. Yeah.
What is the purpose of that, Brian?
I think I know. Brian, hold on. Can I just totally spitball this?
Absolutely.
Aerodynamics, correct?
Wrong.
Like, aren't you creating? Doesn't that move through the air more different if you've got a concave versus there's more drag on something that would be convex?
Something tells me it has more to do with weight.
So this one, have you ever seen the movie Billy Madison?
Yes.
There's a part in it where it says, "We are all now dumber for what you just said."
Screw you, Brian Jeroloman.
That's why, Matt, it's always best to shut up and listen to an expert.
That's going to be a soundbite. Brian Jeroloman being, "We are now dumber for." So good.
So, Brian,
I give you 0 points.
Let me just re-ask the question. What is the purpose of having the concave tip of your bat?
So the reason for the end of the bat being cut in is for the weight of the bat. You nailed it. It balances the bat more. So, if I get a cupped bat, we call it cupping or no cupping. If I get cupped, it's actually going to take some weight off the head of the bat to balance the bat more, so it's not so top heavy. If you leave no cup, so there's no cup at all, it's going to add a little more weight to that top of the bat, and it's going to be a little top heavy.
I liked my answer way better. Your answer sounds lame.
Have you seen these bats that some guys are using now that the handle almost looks like an axe handle? It's like flat. What's that about?
I heard Pedroia was one of the first people that was using it. And, supposedly it forces you to use the proper grip at all times. And, honestly, I think that's pretty genius. It really does. As long as there's no ways it can hurt your hand, just because I don't know how, if a bat breaks, how much different the break will be.
Wow. Brian, it's been fascinating as always. Thank you so much. And we'll be calling you randomly at any particular time. So my suggestion is just stay by your phone all times.
You got it. It's always a pleasure.